Okay, good afternoon, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends, and students, and ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are very happy to have Professor Fong with us again after more than 4 years.
Almost five.
5 years. Yeah. Professor Lee, as our honorary professor of our department, is happy to come here and share with us his technical and non-technical things. Today is the first talk on technical issue, technical interest of us. And the title, as you can see, is U-stop patch antenna. U-stop patch antenna. And U-stop patch, everybody knows this is invented by Professor Lee. And I just checked his first paper on U-stop patch has more than 1,000 citations already by Google scholar. And it's not that easy in the antenna field. Other field it may be easy to achieve 1,000, but in our antenna field, it's not that easy. Only a few papers in a specific antenna get this high citation. And I think he will share with us how he has this idea and what is the recent development. And actually, recently I visit many companies in Beidou system and the base station. I can find you stop patch antenna there. Yeah, but I don't think they will pay you the royalty.
Don't make a dollar.
Professor Fong Lee received his bachelor and master degree from Queen's University, Canada, and his PhD degree from Cornell University, all in electrical engineering. He is now Dean Emeritus in the School of Engineering at the University of Mississippi, where he served from 2001 to 2011, so it's about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So his high academic positions included the founding head of our EE department, CTU, and he also served several universities as department head and dean in the US. And of course, before joining CTU, he was reader in electronics at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And so when he joined City Polytechnic that time, he motivated us to work on antenna research. So his contribution is very significant because when I joined this department, the first day I asked Professor Lee to suggest me some research because I think my PhD work already mature. He said, oh, you can consider the patch antenna or the microstrip antenna. So I learned microstrip antenna and then many of my students continue this interesting topic. And ultimately, many of them return to China and then they work in a different antenna company. So it actually is a very big impact to the antenna industry in China. And while his main interest is since retirement, about 12 years ago, and he's doing some non-technically related thing. And the Professor Lee had nevertheless been invited to give short course, and even he retired, but many people invite him to give the talk related to the patch antenna, particularly on the use of patch antenna, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and also in China, I think, right? And particularly, he like to mention about 5 years ago, he published a book with me. He's actually so kind to include my name in his book. My contribution is very minimal, actually. I think he spent 90% of his effort in the book. It's so nice to add my name. And also my student has a chance to work with you, and he also invited by Tsinghua University to do the international review for his department, so represent the status of Professor Lee is well recognized. Professor Lee is a life fellow of IEEE. I'm now a life fellow now also. But you are young, I'm old. And the particular mention, of course, Professor Fong Lee received this IEEE APS Joint Clouds Antenna Award for the invention of the U-stop patch antenna. Today, we have some distinguished guests. Professor Ki Wu, also the winner of the Joint Clouds Antenna Award. We have 3 Joint Clouds Antenna Awards. I believe we will have more in the future. So without further ado, let's welcome Professor Lee.
Oh, do I need this?
Okay. You're this.
You have used up my time. Well, every time I come here, I feel like coming home. I would like to begin by remembering Dr. David Jones, who was the founding director of City Polytechnic from 1983 to 1989, I think. He passed away on September 26, 2019, at the age of 88. He hired me in 1984 to start the Department of Electronic Engineering at this institution. So let me show you some photos of the memorable bygone year, 1984 to 1985. Doesn't work? Oh, what's going on here? Someone has to help me.
This one.
Yeah, I thought I did that. Oh, okay. Here it is. This photo is the inaugural ceremony of City Polytechnic, October 22, 1984. I was all dressed up in tuxedo, and that tuxedo never used again. And then in July 8, 1985,《星島日報》says 電子行業發展蓬勃啊，城市理工開電子系。This guy is me. It doesn't look like me, but that was me. I can attest to that. So a few months after that, in August 1984, this is the department. I'm here. I was here. This is Allison. So that's it. Department of Electronic Engineering, okay? Actually, when I report for work, the guy in HR took me around and come to this cubicle and said, "This is your department." There was nothing there. Okay, so this is 1984, August. 1985, July, we have some people here. Professor Lok is somewhere here. Does he look like him? Professor Yong, where's Professor Yong? Oh, always, you cannot forget him. Professor Yong. This is Allison. There was an administrative secretary, Sandra. That must be me. And then Jockey Chen. Anyway, some 8 people or so. I call them Hoi Fong now, okay? So that is July 1985. And then in August 1985, I said goodbye. I'm gone. So I served 1 year. I hired these people. And then when I went to see Dr. Jones to quit, I was so embarrassed. But Dr. Jones was very kind. He never, he never gave me a hard time. He just said, well, that's your future, and we hire you to start the department, and you have done it. So a year later, when I was in the US, he actually wrote me a letter and said, the EE department is getting stronger and stronger, and we owe you a great debt for setting it up. I couldn't believe it. I mean, Another person would just say, are you joking? You come here to, I hire you to start the department and you left in 1 year. So during that year, I hired a bunch of people, including Professor Look. And as he said, he asked me, are there any research problems? I said, oh, there's no shortage of problems. And later on, you would see a photo of him sitting down, working out a problem in the first problem he worked on in patch antennas. Okay, so I think that is probably the most interesting part of the talk. The rest, you can more or less fall asleep, okay? Some more pictures. This is when I told Dr. Jones I quit. He actually arranged the associate directors send me off. This is the send-off dinner. All the big shots of the City Polytechnic. And the department actually gave me a kind of silver plate. And then the sentence here is a little hard to read. As far as I can figure out, it says something like, hope you find ahead happiness and hopes fulfilled in everything you do. How nice. I still have this in my home in the U.S. This is from the department. Okay, farewell gift from faculty and staff of EE department. Okay, fast forward to 2011. That's another visit I came to the department. Coincidentally, the university also asked Dr. Jones to come back to give a talk. So this was a photo taken just before he began to speak. This is K.F. Meng, who was department head at that time. Okay. And Dr. Jones, he probably around 80 at that time. And the title of his talk was Travels of an Engineer. And then there was a subtitle, Memories from 1948 to 2011, covering some, you can do the arithmetic, 60 some years. Okay. So following his example, today I'm also drawing on memories, but it's much shorter than his. He's 63 years. My talk will cover from 1995 to today, 2013, 28 years. Okay. I'm going backwards. Okay. When I was I was invited to come again this time. I have to give a talk, and I was thinking, what am I going to talk about? And I came across a invited talk I gave entitled "The History of." The title is this: a personal overview of the development of microstrip patch antennas. And that was given in Puerto Rico in, I guess, 2016 in Puerto Rico. And in the outline of that talk, here's the outline of the talk. I was struck by the fact that in the discussion of 5 different design functions for the patch antenna, block bending, circular polarization, dual multiband design, reconfigurable patch antennas, size reduction. So of the several design applications, the use-dot technique appear in 4 of them. Then it occurs to me maybe I just change one word in the title, and that becomes the talk today. So instead of a personal overview of the development of microstrip antenna, now is a personal overview of the development of use-loss patch antenna. Okay, so this is it. The following was the outline of that. Oh, I am going backwards. So this is the outline. I have done the preliminary remarks. Early history. Let's ask the question. This paper, I think many people are familiar with. 1995, electronics letter, my student Tang Hung and me, and everybody who work on use-loss always cited this paper. So my question is, was the use-loss patch first appear publicly in this paper? What do you think? Yes or no? Well, the answer is no. What's going on? Okay, the correct answer, no. Several months before that paper appeared, there was a conference which nobody knew anything about. It's a radio science meeting in Beijing. And in that meeting, I presented the use-loss antenna design. So that was the first time publicly anyone know about the use-loss structure. And that paper appeared in the proceedings. So this is the conference hotel. I forgot, it's very nice in the outskirts of Beijing. And both Professor Zhao Yong Johnson also attended that meeting. Now, as I say, this is the conference paper, still by myself and Tang Hung. And the thing is, I don't have that paper anymore. And it's almost impossible to find the that conference proceeding in libraries. In fact, anybody who can find that, I'll give him a prize, okay? Fortunately, Professor Johnson in his book 天線理論與技術 actually put out a part of our paper in his book. So at least there's a record, okay, in his book. So fortunately, Professor Johnson had an account of my conference presentation in his book. And the result of that conference paper was later published in the autumn, a few months later, in Electronics Letters, which was the paper I mentioned earlier, this one here. Now, this is the first journal paper on the use-loss patch antenna, and it's a paper cited more than 1,000 times, as Professor Luk mentioned. The authors who cited this journal paper did not seem to be aware that the one in the conference proceedings was actually where the use-loss first made its public appearance. I'm not aware it was ever cited, except in Professor Johnson's book. I really have to 請佢飲茶. Here is the book. And our diagrams, several diagrams were reproduced in his book, including the structure of the antenna, the frequency response measurement, and a couple of radiation diagrams. And then he had a Chinese translation of the reason for the wide bandwidth of the use-loss. So here, Professor Johnson provided the explanation in Chinese, which is translated from our explanation in English, okay, in the paper. So can you read this? My name is here. What is that? That is not 啟, that is 簡體字, I guess. So my name is Peter, 李啟峰教授. Okay. And then, so can you read it? So this is a Chinese translation of the English explanation in our article. So we explained that the U slot introduced another resonance. This resonance and the patch resonance produce an overall response, which is broadband. And then it also provides a capacitance, which tends to cancel the probe inductance, allowing the use of thick substrate. Thick substrate would give you better bandwidth. Attain some 30% impedance bandwidth using air or Fong substrate of about 800ths of wavelength thickness. Now, in those days, the patch antenna was known for narrow band, maybe 10%, maybe less. So going to 30% is not trivial. Here is. Now, it just turned out that summer, 1995, Professor Po Chung was the department head. And he invited me to visit this department. And so I told Professor Look that we had these preliminary results of the U slot patch. The most significant thing is that the bandwidth is quite wide. In those days, that was quite wide. And the results were preliminary. And the antenna built by 10 Hong was around 800 megahertz. Right. And it's pretty low frequency. So the antenna is pretty big, pretty heavy. So it was left at the University of Toledo. I never took it with me when I left. So I was here. I told Professor Look, we got these preliminary results. And our friend Tong Kin Fai was working on his PhD. Professor Look asked him to do an extensive experimental study of the U slot patch antenna. And he came up with a very smart way of making the U slot patches. Just cut the patch on a very thin metal sheet, put it on the foam, and then with a ground plane. So he was in a cubicle with walls around, and he just put all those U slot stuff on the walls, right? So this, what's going on? Yeah, so that's Tong Kin Fai's U slot patch antenna. So he tried different ones. The ones that seem to work very well is shown here in a large photo. He made extensive measurements on that antenna. And I still have that antenna in the United States, even though I have moved a dozen times or so. I was, for a while, thinking of bringing it to Hong Kong. But then I decided against it because you never know what the custom people will say. They may think that I'm exporting high-tech technology. I don't want to get into trouble. So the antenna stays in my house, okay? But that's the photo of it. Here is our friend again. Okay. Now, Kenneth doing extensive study and also develop an FDGT code to simulate the performance of the U slot patch antenna. And initially, by the way, we decided to work on the middle gigahertz range. So the antenna was quite a bit smaller than the earlier one. and then he do extensive simulation, and also initially it was air or foam substrate, and then he also studied it for microwave substrates, material substrate. I think this constitutes your PhD thesis, right? And leads to two seminal use-law papers, one in the IEE, one in IEEE. Which one is you? So this is Kenneth getting his PhD, right, in 1997. And this is somewhere in Hangzhou. We attend a PS conference. This is a beautiful girl. That is his wife. Okay, so what next? Oh, going backward. Okay, shortly after our paper was published, there will appear many papers on the use-law-related patches. Some just make a V instead of a U is a V. I think that's Shafai, Locke Shafai of Canada, tried the V and it still worked. Jennifer Bernhardt, do you know her? At University of Illinois. So she was another person who worked on the thing, and then Chen Jiling, Shannon Chen. This guy here, right, Chen Jiling, he spent some time in CTU. And arrays also began to appear using the use-law patched element for broadband. The group led by Professor Luk and Professor Chen were among the contributors. So here are a couple of their array using use-law as element. There were also attempts to develop theoretical models using characteristic modes and couple mode theory. There are many papers, but this paper is very comprehensive, and it also lists a lot of references. So if you're interested, is in IEEE Access, Volume 7, 2019. Compared to the broadbanding techniques at that time, which consists of several. One is the coplanar parasitic patch, another is the stat patch, and the aperture couple patch. The use-law patch, because it's single patch and single layer, was considerably simpler. So this is the so-called coplanar parasitic patch, a fat patch, two parasitic. And this is a fat patch on the bottom, one on the top. This is called the stat patch. And then the aperture couple, there's a fit line here going through an aperture, and then the patch. But all this more complicated than the use-law patch. Okay, so I have done this. Now, various design and an international cast of researchers. As I say, shortly after we demonstrated the broadbanding by the use-law, researchers began to investigate whether the use-law technique can do something else, like circular polarization, dual band, or reconfiguration, and so forth. So these efforts involve an international cast of researchers, which I'm now going to introduce. One group is my students and collaborators in the US. Dr. Richard Lee of NASA Lewis Research Center. At the University of Akron, my student Ken Hung, University of Toledo students Tim Torty, Silver Superlo, Wei Chen, University of Missouri students John Hopkins, Aaron Shackelfield, and then Professor Luk sent two students to us as an exchange student, Alan Mark and Ricky Chair, to the University of Missouri. The University of Mississippi students, two from the Middle East, and professors Al-Shibini and Kish and Feng Yang. And then Ricky Chair, actually after Missouri, after his PhD, he spent almost 2 years at Mississippi as a postdoctoral fellow. And where's Stephen? Stephen also come to Mississippi for about slightly over a year. Yeah, okay. And Lazarus Lewis Research Center has since been renamed Glenn Research Center in honor of John Glenn. John Glenn was his first guy who circled the earth, right? I was a summer faculty fellow in the research center in the summer of 1986 and 1987. And Dr. Richard Lee was a staff member in the antenna branch, and we collaborate in research. In fact, our research, I was at the University of Akron then, but even after I left for University of Akron, we continued to collaborate. I think it lasted something like 18 years, and we wrote 22 journal articles together. Richard was a PhD student of Y.T. Lowe at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So this is Y.T. Lowe, Richard Lee. That must be, looks like me to me. And this is a student of mine. And this is when we were young. This is when we were old. This is our house in San Jose. Not very long ago, Richard came to visit us. So that's it. And then because of my association with NASA, we were fortunate that my students can use their antenna facilities because we had none at the University of Akron. So Jim Baldwinchak was the first one. He worked on the step patch. We actually wrote a paper on the step patch, which is very well cited. I think it was one of the first journal papers on the step patch. And then Tang Hoon, of course, is the use log guy, and Tam Toti. These two, whose papers were very good, but they were not PhD students. They were master students. And I have lost where they were. So they didn't even know their papers were becoming quite famous. Okay, now, as I mentioned, Professor K.M. Luk and his students make a lot of contribution to use-log patch antenna. We not only work on the use-log, but we just collaborate. It lasts for about 33 years. We write books and that sort of thing. So here are 3 pictures of Professor Luk, 3 stages of his career. This is when he first joined City Polytechnic in Wong Kok Zhongsheng. So he and Professor Eddie Yong, they share the office. Did you guys fight? So that's when when I told him to work on the patch antenna. So that's one stage. 1 year later, he got results and was accepted for presentation in the Philadelphia meeting. So this is in University of Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. This is a very good friend of ours, Dr. Dahili, who was at Chinese University of Hong Kong. So start to do research, present the first paper, and that's the first AP meeting you attended. Yes. Then years later, the John Krause Award. So 2017, is that right? In San Diego. I drove all the way from San Jose to San Diego. Huh?
10 hours by drive.
I don't remember. Even if it's 20 hours, I would drive there. So that's Professor Look. And then he has so many outstanding students. Kenneth, we already mentioned, YX Go, Quốc Vĩnh Sân, yeah, Quốc Vĩnh Sân, Mạch Chi Luân, Ricky Chair, I never know his Chinese name. Huh? Okay. We know this guy. Stand up. Wang Mingji, is she here? Steve Wong, Wang Hằng. Đậu Gia良, I don't think he's here. Đậu Gia良, Lai Hoi Hua, he's watching it on Zoom. Others, so if I miss any, I apologize, okay? And then Professor Chen. Professor Chen and his students, I only am aware of 2, so others that are missed, I apologize. Professor Chen?
No, I think Chiu, Ricky, I mean Frankie.
Frankie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I think one good thing about CTE is that we are able to share the research know-how.
Okay.
Professor Look explained to me how U-slot work and
Oh.
how airport work.
Oh,
I
okay.
think Frankie basically make use of this advantage by inventing something similar.
Okay.
Use the
But anyway,
capacity to cancel the
I'm aware of this paper where you use the U-slot to enhance the quarter wave patch, right?
So you can see that Professor Look's name is there.
Oh yeah, he said. You cannot get away from Professor Look. Okay. So these researchers I mentioned, they come from different countries. China, of course, mainland and Hong Kong. Vietnam, the guy who built the first U-slot is from Vietnam. Very hard to understand his accent. And then USA, of course, Iran, students from Iran, Egypt, and India. So it's an international group of students who make contributions. And here are some of the students I work with. Mạch Chi Luân. This is John, the guy who went to original study was for linear polarization. So the next step is, what about circular polarization? And then what about dual band? And then what about whether we can configure the polarization and configure the frequency? So the first discussion is on CP U-slot patch. As you know, one way of making CP is to have a square patch and truncate the corner. and that will give you CP. But the CP bandwidths, and when you talk about CP, you not only have to worry about the impedance bandwidth, but also the CP bandwidth. Usually the CP bandwidth is extremely narrow, less than 1%. So the question arises whether the U slot can also improve the CP bandwidth. So here is our genius, Stephen Yang. So this paper, the lead author is Stephen Yang. K.F. Tong is also involved. Oh, I think maybe not the same paper, but you know, on the same subject, but different approach. And I think I list all this, I don't mean they are of the same paper authors, but they have been involved in the CP study. So this is the U slot in a truncated corner. That's Stephen Yang's work. And then this is the U slot with unequal parallel slots seem to be able to do the job as well. And as far as I know, one of the first papers is by Kenneth Tong and Wong in 2007. This is the actual antenna built for this type of work. Professor Steve Wong actually used this antenna to improve. Maybe you can explain what you do. To improve the, what did I say? The Chinese area positioning system antenna, right? Yes. Did they pay you well?
No, I cost zero money.
No money?
That one pay.
Okay. Okay, anyway, that's the handsome guy there. So the work actually has practical applications, not just 唔係淨係叫做咩紙上談兵。Now, okay, the next thing is whether instead of broadband, perhaps we can also do dual band. In fact, in the paper that Kenneth and Professor and I published, we did point out that we can also have the U slot doing dual band performance. So you design the U slot so that its resonance is not overlapping the patch resonance, so they don't merge to give you broadband. So that is the dual band thing. And then it turns out if you add another U slot, you can even do triple band response. It turns out just keeping adding U slots, it works well for frequency ratio greater than 1.5. If less than 1.5, there's another way of doing it, is you start with a relatively broadband antenna. So this is a broadband U slot antenna. And then you add another slot. It introduces a notch somewhere in the broadband. So the broadband becomes two bands. And you add another one, it becomes triple band. So this slide starts with a broadband antenna, which is U slot. But you can also start with broadband antenna with Professor Look's antenna, that's the L probe. So this is starting with an L probe broadband, and then add one U slot, two U slot. These are the actual antennas. And here it shows the result. This is the broadband, and then the U slot introduces a notch, so it becomes two band. Another U slot, it becomes two notches, and then triple band. Okay, as you know, you can reduce the size of a patch antenna by using a sorting wall or sorting pin. And you can also do it with the U-slot patch. So this is one with a sorting wall for a U-slot patch. This is one, you can even cut it into half. And of course, there are some characteristics which are not as good, but still it works to some degree. And this then becomes a small antenna as well as relatively broadband antenna. Okay, before discussing circular polarization reconfigurability, let me introduce what I call a cousin of the U-slot, and that is the E-patch. Actually, this has a lot to do with Professor Look's experience. So a cousin of the U-slot. There's a professor called Zhang Shihua, a professor at Tsinghua University. And his student, Yuan Fan Yan, was doing a master's degree with Zhang Shihua. Sometime in 1997, both of them came to CTU to visit Professor Look's lab, I guess. And Professor Zhang Shihua told Professor Look, if I said something wrong, correct me, okay? Because you were the one, they are 現場嘅人. So she told Professor Look that Yuan Fan was working on something called the E-patch. What the E-patch is simply take the U and the two parallel slots, just extend it to the edge of the patch. And then the slot connecting the two parallel ones, just forget it. So just extend the two parallel slots to the edge of the patch. Then there's no connecting slot anymore. And the result looks like a letter E, right? And that's called the E-patch. So is that a cousin of the U-slot? It comes from the U-slot. So Yuan Fan went to UCLA for his PhD. Apparently, he continued to work on the E-patch. And then in 2001, there's a paper in the IEEE Transactions that is called Wideband E-shaped patch antenna for wireless communications. The lead authors are Yuan Fan and Zhang Shihua. Okay, so that is the relationship of the E-patch and the U-slot patch. I think I showed this picture already, right? This is Yuan Fan. So although we compete, we are good friends. In fact, Yuan Fan in 2002 joined the University of Mississippi when I was dean there. So I hired him. And we wrote a paper together with a student because we found that just like the U-slot, if you have the two slots unequal length, it can generate circular polarization. So this is, you can call it whatever you like, modified E-patch or whatever. But this is the CP version of the E-patch. Okay, so that paper. And then we found out if we use diodes, switching diodes, to control the length of the two slots, you can make it polarization configurable. So we are now done here. Reconfiguration CP and then later on reconfigurable frequency. Okay, here it is. If we use two switching diodes, control when one is on, one is off. So this is one state. When both of them are off, so they are of equal length. And in that case, you get linear polarization, right? Equal length. And then when both of them are on, it's still the same length because this switch short circuit the thing. So when both are on, you still get linear polarization, but a different frequency. If one is on, one is off, you get CP. If this is shorted, you get left hand. The other one shorted, you get right hand. So this is the paper, and this is the hardware that make that reconfigurable system. Okay, using diodes and controlling capacitors and so forth. Now, because of Yang Fan, so we do it with the E-patch. But obviously the same principle apply for the U, and these people did it, we didn't do it. So they do the switching thing with the U slot, get similar results. Now, you want to explain this? So Stephen Yan, he has the U and U slot, and then he has chip elements in the fit line, capacitance and inductance, right? That you can tune, so you can tune the frequency. I think the nice thing about the U slot is somehow the impedance match very well when you tune, and it remains, as the frequency shifts, it remains pretty matched to the transmission line. Did I say something wrong? Okay, so that is Stephen Yan, one of his work in the University of Mississippi. Frequency reconfigurable. We're almost coming to the end. What time is it? How long have I spoke?
55 minutes.
55 already?
Yes.
Does that count yours? Because you use up a lot of my time. Okay, well, we are coming to the end. Concluding remarks. So, if you are asleep, you should be waking now. Okay, top-sided papers on microstrip antennas. There's a paper, the classic paper by Professor Y.T. Low. This aperture coupled paper by Poser. And then the one I wrote with the Tang Hung, and then Fang Yan's E-patch. Each one of these has over 1,000 citations. Now there may be others. I'm just aware of this. Okay, the IEEE John Close Award was established to honor an individual or team that has made significant advance in antenna technology. The first award was Victor Rumsey. For those who are not young, you should have heard of Victor Rumsey. If you're too young, you probably don't know who he is. But anyway, here is Victor Rumsey. Oh, there's a fellow over there. Who is that? Who is this? Who is that? That's me.
There's a name on it.
Huh?
There's a name on it.
What's that?
Picture, under the picture, there's a name.
Does that look like me?
Yes, of course.
Well, this picture is the Department of Electrical Engineering, University of California, San Diego, the second year. And they want a picture of the department. I was the only postdoctoral fellow there. And they want faculty and graduate students, each separate. But they don't know where to put me, because I was neither a faculty nor a graduate student. So finally decided they put me in the corner of the faculty. Okay, so that's me. Real. That's a real photo. Okay, the 2019 John Close Award. The citation was for inventing the wideband U-slot patch antenna and for expanding the U-slot technique to small size, dual triple band, and circular polarization. 2019 was the first time the award was given for work on microstrip patch antennas. All members of the international group of researchers that I mentioned in this talk contributed to this recognition. I cannot help pointing out that there are 20 John Close Award recipients so far. 5 of them have something to do with City University, this department, okay? There's me, there's Professor Luk, there's John Yuping. He's now at NTU. He spent some time here. Chen Jiling. Ki Wu, where's Ki Wu? Ki Wu was a visiting professor for how long? 1 year?
Yeah, roughly 1 year.
Right, so 5 out of 20 has something to do with City UEE, okay? So you should be very proud of your own department. Oh, finally, who was John Close? Well, John Close was, Professor Chen, you know John Close?
Of course I know.
Did he teach you?
No. Well, I can say one thing.
Yeah.
It turns out every time he used the same set of exam paper. So everybody got A, but I did not take.
That's a good professor then.
Huh?
That's a good professor.
Yeah.
Okay, he was a professor at Ohio State from 1946 to 1980, author of classic books on antennas, electromagnetics, and radio astronomy, inventor of widely used antennas, including a special design of the large antenna for radio astronomy. So these are the books, and this is a corner reflector using grids as the reflector. This is when John Close was experimenting with the helical antenna, and finally it's circularly polarized. The helical antenna was the antenna the astronauts brought to the moon. So first antenna on the moon was a helical antenna, okay? So another helical antenna. And this is the special design of a big antenna called the Big Ear, invented by John Close. What happens is if you use a parabolic dish, the tolerance has to be within, very fine tolerance when you move it. But the thing is, when you move the reflector, different portions subject to different gravity, and it's very hard to stay within the tolerance when you steer the beam. So John Close came up with the idea that one of the reflectors is a flat reflector, which is easy to move, and also it can stay flat. Not the parabolic shape. So this is called the Big Ear. Who's this guy? There's a fellow there that look familiar. Have you been to the Big Ear? Anyway, it's now demolished. So I was there before that happened. I guess there's something more about the Close type, the Big Ear telescope. Oh, this is good news. This ends my personal overview of the development of the U-slot patch antenna. I'm not up to date on any new development in the last 10 years. Don't ask me. Ask Professor Luk, Professor Fong, Professor Chen, okay? So thank you very much for coming.
Actually, I can share with you. The U-slot patch is applying for the development of the reconfigurable reflex array and transmit array.
Oh, I see.
It's in recent years.
So, I see. So ask him. He knows much more. Yeah.
But I believe our audience here may have some questions about the.
I cannot answer any question.
Sarah, you always can ask questions.
I can answer the question. Professor Lee is a very impressive talk, and I really enjoy it, even though I don't know anything.
吹牛啊！
I just wonder though, listening to all your achievements, there's lots of things that you have done. What would you consider as the one that you are most proud of?
Starting this department.
How nice. How
Yes,
nice. Yeah.
because research, many people have done good work, different areas. It's hard to say who is better than who in research. But who has started a department from scratch? I'm aware of only two people. One is my professor, Henry Booker, who started the EE in University of California, San Diego. He was in the picture. The other one is me. So I'm not joking. I mean, first of all, you got to have the opportunity. Secondly, it's very rare. So well, I can go on, but I won't.
But you already speak for yourself. If you look at the John Krause Antenna Award recipient, 5 of them actually are affiliated with the EE department here. So
well, that's why I said very few people will be given the opportunity to actually start a department. And I'm only aware of the AP members, Professor Booker, my professor, and me. If you know somebody else, let me know. I'm not. It's very rare, So not only that, but this department, I was telling.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
I think you should be very proud. I associate this department now, people who does antenna work consider it an honor to come to visit the department. It's like Niels Bohr. Anybody know who Niels Bohr is? Oh, you guys. Niels Bohr was one of the founders of quantum mechanics. So Niels Bohr is a Danish guy. So he has a Bohr Institute in Copenhagen. And when quantum mechanics was being developed, everybody wants to go to Niels Bohr Institute. So I'm comparing your department to Niels Bohr Institute because all antenna people like to visit this department. And this not, I mean, that's real something. I mean, very hard to achieve, but it's a fact, yeah. So,
It took 1 year.
Pardon?
It took 1 year to start this group department, right?
Well, as I say, I feel so bad when 1 year later I went to Dr. John's office and tell him I'm quitting. I was expecting then that he would really give me hell, But I still admire him because nothing like that. He was 心胸廣闊，即係好大量啊！仲話 we hire you to start the department and you have started it. So, wow, I was so relieved. 我以為我出去嘅時候一面懵㗎嘛。Well, I mean, it's very difficult decision. I mean, I have to consider my children's education and all that. As I told some of my friends, one weekend the Hong Kong dollar to US dollar shoots up to God knows what. So I was a Chinese student. I said, what's going to happen to my retirement after 1997? So that set me, thinking of exploring opportunities back in the US. So very difficult. Now, did I regret leaving the department? I guess so. Well, no, it's there's no use to think back, Yeah. But I'm so proud that the department has become what it is. Yeah. And then I have come back so many times. One time I asked KM, Human Resources, my record of coming back. And even they cannot keep track of it. Because I have been back so many times that they lost track, right? Something like that. But anyway. So this is the first 吹油. There's another 吹油 next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, 4 p.m.
4 p.m. is completely...
No, 5 p.m.
No, I think, no, the second one is 4 p.m. Yeah. It's completely different.
It's not technical.
That's really 吹油, I tell you.
So maybe let me invite our stage left director for the teacher to present a souvenir for the
Oh, souvenir.
I think because Professor Lee already had been here so many times, I think he received the same souvenir many times. But it's easy to carry.
Sure, okay.
Maybe we can.
我寫喺中間啊。
有啲字喺裏面。
Yeah. I can make a fortune just by selling the gifts I receive.
好，揸住個禮物。
Oh, okay.
1、2、3，好，整一槍啦，1、2、3，OK。
Okay. Finally, let's take a good photo with Professor Lee, right?
Oh. Wow, there's a lot of... Oh, oh, okay.
唔係我坐嗰位，我位我嘅我，阿黐坐呢位。So ready?
好 ，1、2、3，好，one more。
See you next week.